It's prom nights with Hopeless. Great tunes back to back. You're listening, of course, to the Social Impact Show. Before that, we had Ryan Smith with Midnight Lover. You know, the great thing about doing a show like this is that you get to meet a whole bunch of really interesting people and the way they see the world. And whether it's a 20-minute or 30-minute conversation, you get to immerse yourself into the way they think about things. And I think this is no different. In the couple of seconds I've had to have a chat with Cole Tuckett, who goes by the moniker the Southern Bitcoiner. It's really interesting. Let's get into this conversation. Cole, good morning and thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you do something really interesting, right? You are online and maybe you can tell us that this compelling need to educate, right? Because I'm watching your stuff at the moment, and I get a fair amount of what you're doing. But how did you get into this as kind of your spiel, your niche? And then when did you decide, I'm actually going to spend the time to teach people about it?
Yeah, so a good friend of mine, he orange pilled me is what we call it, when somebody convinces you of Bitcoin. So I fell deep down this Bitcoin rabbit hole, and I discovered and I believe that Bitcoin is a better form of money and a fairer form of money for humans. And because of this, because I think it's a better form of money and it's good for society, I thought, you know what, let me start teaching people how to use Bitcoin to its full the advantages that it gives us. So I'll teach people how to secure Bitcoin themselves rather than relying on somebody else to secure it for them, like a bank or any other institution that runs on Bitcoin these days.
Yeah. But you're a Bitcoin maxi, right?
I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, yes.
So for those that don't know, what is that?
Yeah, so basically I believe Bitcoin is the best and dominant cryptocurrency. And the reason I believe that is because it's the only truly decentralized one. Satoshi Nakamoto is the creator of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He gave us the code that runs Bitcoin and he vanished. It was kind of his gift to the world, and now it's maintained by thousands of people across the world, where it's not the same for a lot of these other cryptocurrencies.
So you're not into XRP, Ethereum, any of those others?
No, not at all. These are companies.
So you're purist?
Yes.
Yeah, I know you use the word maximalist, but you're purist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's very, very interesting for me. So you actually don't have time for any of the other guys, right?
Yeah.
You just do your focus on that.
Bitcoin is the best, and that's how I roll.
What at 15? I know you talked about your friend who orange pulled you, but I mean, you obviously he awoke something in you, right? I mean, obviously you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make a drink.
Yeah.
So there was something about it that spoke to you, and then 15. This is the journey you're on, and you're now 21. So you've already, in terms of the professional sense, have dedicated 7 years of your life to understanding it and grasping with it, understanding how it fits into our ordinary lives. And then you've taken on this mantle of saying, okay, I've got all this information, I've gone down the rabbit hole, and I'm now willing to teach, because teaching is a very difficult art. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
So what was it at 15? And were you like a weird kid?
Well, I think most people my age, the reason they get into this is it's a cool way to make money. So that's how I got started. I'm like, there's this new way online to make a bit of extra cash.
Okay.
I think from young I was very entrepreneurial, and I wanted to make some money so I could buy cool things.
Yeah.
And that quickly changed when I discovered that the money we use today is fundamentally flawed. So the South African rand, it can be printed.
It's built on a fiat system.
Yeah, it can be printed from nothing. It used to be backed by gold, and now fiat is money that is printed by governments, that's not backed in any way.
And eventually it's going to collapse.
Yeah, and I realized that, and I realized, okay, Bitcoin is a better form of money, and it should replace this terrible thing that is fiat. And that's what really drove me to research this more and understand the technology better. And then in turn, I guess, because I knew it so well and I wanted everybody else to understand the flaws with fiat, I started teaching it. And a lot of books, a lot of reading documentation online is what drove me here. I wasn't much of a weirdo, I don't think. I just...
No, because I think, when I mean weird, I mean kind. I mean in a kind way, because when you go down the rabbit hole, as you said, you have to give up other stuff, right? So you're not hanging out with your friends the way you would in the convention, or were you still are you one of those kids that were able to balance everything? Still had an active sporting life, social life, was still the cool kid at school, and then was this crypto nerd at home?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
okay, so
yeah, instead of doing my math homework, I was focusing on Bitcoin rather than not hanging out with my friends.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So now you've got this. Do you sometimes, when you think of these things and when you look at the numbers of the show and how people are reacting to you, are you surprised sometimes? Or are you over the surprise? Are you just like, let's grow this audience and get them bigger?
Yeah, I think not too surprised, because there's a thirst for knowledge in Bitcoin. People want to know how to secure it and use it.
Even with all the voices that are out there?
Yeah. I think for me personally, I focus on making education that is concise and to the point, and people tend to appreciate that. So it did take some time to gain traction, but you just produce content or education that is better than the content that exists, and people tend to come to your stuff. And I found that's what happened, and I guess in the bull market, when Bitcoin goes up, my channel tends to grow more with the price increasing. So sometimes I check YouTube Studio and I'm a bit surprised, especially when the numbers going up, the Bitcoin price.
But as a content developer and as a content creator and as somebody who is also in the executive producer role for your own platform, what have you analyzed what it is about the way you deliver the stuff that people have heard of? Have you analyzed why it's landing better or it resonates more with the audience than maybe other channels that also focus on cryptocurrency?
I haven't really analyzed this in depth, but when I first started creating this content, I noticed that the content that existed was far too long, far too technical, and
long form content.
Long form, yeah, like an hour. I could film what somebody else covers in an hour. I can do it in 20 minutes because it's to the point. I cut out all the fluff. There's no advertisements and all of that. So I think that's, if I were to guess, I haven't analyzed this in depth, but if I were to guess, that would be it. Yeah.
What is it about Bitcoin? And I know that I remember. I wish I took part in it. I remember when Bitcoin was $1.
Yeah.
And then it became $7. And then, unfortunately, when the Bitcoin news came in, there was also a lot of stuff around scams. And so a lot of us kind of stayed away from this because we thought it was a scam and all of that. And now over the years, there's a lot more information. There's newsletters. Guys like Luno put out a newsletter every month or every week. There's Valor, there's Coinbase, there's all these other platforms. What do you think it still is about Bitcoin that we don't know? I know there are some experts. It doesn't help when Warren Buffett says, I don't understand it, so I won't invest it, but I think he's changed his mind around it. Publicly, he still says he doesn't get it, but I think behind closed doors he's invested. But what do you think it is about Bitcoin we should know that we don't know?
Yeah, I think it's not what we don't know about Bitcoin. It's what we don't know about the current fiat system that's more important. Is if we understand the fundamental flaw with the South African rand or the US dollar or whatever we're using day to day, then we look for the solution, and that naturally is Bitcoin. And the key issue is that the fiat currency can be printed from nothing, and the price of anything depends on supply and demand. They increase the supply, the money we earn is worth less. So fundamentally, fundamentally, all of us are working for money somebody else can print from nothing. And effectively, you're losing your time and your energy to somebody else issuing currency. As soon as everybody understands that, we look for a solution, and that is Bitcoin. And I guess what people need to understand about Bitcoin is that it's capped in supply. There will only ever be 21 million coins. So as a result, it tends to increase in value.
As opposed to the others.
Exactly, yeah. Increase in value over time compared to something like the rand, which is issued from thin air.
Yeah, that's interesting. And do you think it's that understanding that is getting young people eager to adopt the digital currency than, let's say, anything else? Because Mpilo's been telling me, I mean, he's kind of been my teacher on the side here. Yeah. Talking about kind of how banks are starting to see cryptocurrency and a lot of the stuff that they're doing behind the scenes that they're not making public. So banks are heavily investing in cryptocurrency, and soon we'll see major announcements. And yet we kind of want to keep the public uneducated around the power of crypto, and because of the volatility, we kind of want to make it sound as if there isn't real blockchain technology around it, and it's on the whim of somebody. But do you think that's why young people have been so eager to adopt it, because they have a sense of ownership of it, they can control it?
Yeah, definitely. You can truly own Bitcoin in your own wallet, and you're not relying on any third party to keep that safe for you. So that's definitely one of the reasons that young people are interested in Bitcoin. And I think another big reason is actually because it's digital money. And with people my age, we have completely replaced the analog world with digital things. For example, I probably have, but I've never actually used a calendar, a physical one that you stick on your wall. I just use Google Calendar.
Hey, don't slam it. I used to have one.
Yeah. I guess I had one when I was a kid, but did I use it? I don't think so.
Yeah. What do you think? Obviously, Bitcoin is a long-term game.
Yeah.
You don't get involved in it with this idea that we're going to turn around some quick money and then next week we're out. What would you say to young investors who are watching? How should they balance risk versus reward?
Yeah. Well, for me as a Bitcoin maximalist, I think holding Rand is the risk.
Okay.
I don't think Bitcoin is the risk. So first, when you're getting started, only put in Bitcoin what you can afford to lose. And that's purely because you might not know how to secure it properly.
Okay.
So I think...
Sorry, when you say secured properly, what do you mean?
Yeah, so if you use an exchange like Luno or Valor, they actually hold the Bitcoin for you in their wallet. And you just open the app and you can see kind of your balance. But it's not truly your Bitcoin. By secure it, I mean you set up your own Bitcoin wallet on your phone or your computer, and you withdraw the Bitcoin from Valor or Luno into your wallet.
I don't even think I didn't know that. Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
So when you have your own wallet, that Bitcoin is truly yours. It belongs to you and only you. Where if you have it in Valor, it kind of belongs to Valor, and they say it belongs to you. But if Valor were to go bankrupt, I'm not saying they will. If Valor were to go bankrupt or something bad were to happen to Valor,
which happens every day.
Look at FTX. FTX is a great example. It was one of the biggest exchanges in the world. It kind of blew up, and anyone who had Bitcoin with them lost it all. So withdrawing to self-custody is what we call it. Withdrawing to your own wallet is key to securing your Bitcoin.
And how difficult is it to set up?
There's a few levels to it, so it can be very easy. It's as simple as downloading an app, writing down your passwords. It's actually called a seed phrase, but I'll just refer to it as a password. And then you send Bitcoin to that wallet. You click receive, it shows you an address, and you withdraw from Valor or Luno to that address. The key thing is that you back up your password and keep that safe. And we've heard lots of stories of people losing their Bitcoin. It's because they lost their password.
Yeah, that story that's doing the rounds, I don't know if it's a myth, but there's a guy who bought X amount of Bitcoin, lost the password. It was on some kind of hard drive or something, and now can't find it. And is estimated to be worth millions and millions.
Exactly.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that, and I don't think a lot of people kind of know that. How do you think in 2025, how important is cryptocurrency education? Is it something that we should, as parents, really get our children to think about, or at least push them in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. I think we start with financial education in general, and teaching the history of money, I think, is very important. Money
I think
used
a lot
to be,
of people will vomit if they know the history of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It used to be backed by gold. In 1971, they stopped the convertibility of gold into dollars, and ever since then we've just been using money that can be issued from nothing.
I think the exchange of that money was around the Bretton Accord, when countries agreed that America would become the central hub for all their gold, and America would then back all their currencies. But over the years, America sold their gold reserves, and so that's when we talk about this fiat currency, that is basically a currency that is backed by government, but there's no real money behind it.
Yeah.
There's no gold that backs it. It's basically a beautiful IOU.
Exactly.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah. So I think we start with the history of money, and then definitely Bitcoin education is important to teach younger people how to take true ownership of their wealth. Bitcoin is true neutral money, and I think definitely it starts with understanding money in itself first.
Yeah. So you're developing all this content, right? How much, I'm just thinking, and I know content developers, I don't know if you agonize about what should be the next content piece, or Because, I mean, slowly but surely you're entering into the thought leadership space. I mean, because you're obviously coming up with new ideas around how to develop. How easy is it at the moment to develop content for a platform that focuses on Bitcoin specifically?
It's quite easy. I think there's
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
there's so many different tools and software you can cover. So I mainly teach people how to secure Bitcoin or how to use it. There's 1,000 different ways to do it. So it's kind of never ending of videos to make and content to produce.
Yeah. What's the vision for this platform? I mean, I didn't check your numbers recently, but what's the big vision for you, Cole, in terms of growing this audience?
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to hit firstly 10,000 subscribers. That would be ideal. But as long as there's somebody out there who's learning how to take true ownership of their wealth, that's good for me. And I get a lot of DMs on Twitter or emails
People
saying,
just wanting to engage with you.
yeah, and just saying thank you. I've taken sovereign ownership of my wealth. It belongs to me now, and that's really the goal here.
And that makes you feel great inside.
Yeah, that makes me feel great.
At some point, will the channel evolve? And I've only seen Pilo's introduced me to a couple of videos. I mean, I must say, it really feels like a very, it feels like a masterclass that you've simplified. And so I think if you just put all those videos together, that would be on LinkedIn Learning, for example, as a course, right? But expansion into other content to eventually interview the top guys in crypto, or you eventually having that global audience, is that the plan down the line?
I wouldn't say so. I think,
Okay.
yeah, I'm focused mainly on tutorial for now, but that could be in the future. I'm not too sure what the future holds quite yet.
Wow, what an interesting. Yeah, there's just so many different content developers on YouTube thinking differently about how the impact they can make in the world, and I find yours quite interesting and super refreshing. So it's Cole Tuckett, who is runs a platform called the I want to get it right. It's called where are we? It's called the Southern.
Yeah, southernbitcoiner.com is the
southernbitcoiner.com. So you can go into that platform. You can check out it. He's done so many tutorials. It is a masterclass. Download them all. Easy listening stuff when you're driving between your office and your work. Download them. You can listen to them, engage with the content, and as you said, you can actually own your wealth. And it's quite interesting. I did not know that even if you use a platform like Luno, that you can actually get your Bitcoin, put it into your own wallet as opposed to running it through those exchanges. I think that was absolutely valuable. Cole, thank you very much for joining me.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
This guy is a crypto nerd.
A Bitcoin nerd.
A Bitcoin nerd, not a crypto nerd, a Bitcoin nerd. Okay, it's just gone about 11:30. We still continue here on the Social Impact Show. I'm telling you, we are meeting fascinating people that are so deeply goddamn interesting. They just see the world absolutely differently.